Welcome to my channel, The World of Science Fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
The shell hit 30 meters out, and the shockwave lifted Sergeant Miles Knox off his feet like a discarded toy. He didn't remember landing, only the ringing, a high, thin scream in his left ear that wouldn't stop. His arm wasn't responding right. Fingers twitched when he told them to close. The crater wall pressed against his back. Jagged rock and scorched metal fused together from previous bombardments. Smoke churned overhead, thick enough to taste. Something moved across the crater floor. Miles blinked through the haze. Blue skin, segmented armor, matte black with clan markings he recognized from intelligence briefings. The sniper, the one they'd been hunting for 3 weeks. The one who'd killed Captain Reeves and half of Bravo Company. She was crawling toward her rifle. Miles tried to raise his weapon. His left arm hung useless. Right hand found the grip, but his muscles screamed, and he couldn't get the barrel up fast enough. She'd reach her rifle first. He was dead. She got there. Fingers closed around the stock, rolled onto her side, scope coming up toward him. Then she stopped. Her face twisted. Pain, not calculation. Blood seeped through a tear in her armor at the ribs. She tried to stabilize the rifle against her shoulder, but the movement made her gasp. A sharp sound that cut through the ringing in Miles's ear. They stared at each other across 6 feet of blasted ground. Her eyes were pale yellow with vertical pupils. Predator's eyes. Her hair moved like it was underwater. Midnight blue strands that seemed to emit their own faint light. Intelligence said it was some kind of stress response. Biological. Something about blood chemistry and adrenaline. Right now it flickered weakly, barely visible. Another shell screamed overhead. Landed somewhere beyond the crater rim. The ground bucked. Miles coughed and tasted copper. We're in a kill zone. She didn't lower the rifle. Human words mean nothing. Those weren't my mortars. Yours neither. He shifted, trying to get his legs under him. Everything hurt. Neutral zone. We're both trespassing. Then we both die here. Probably. Miles managed to sit up. His left arm was definitely broken. Compound fracture by the feel of it. Bone grinding. He breathed through his nose until the nausea passed. But I've got maybe 20 minutes before shock takes me. You're losing blood faster. 10 minutes, maybe less. Her rifle wavered. Not much. Just enough to notice. I'm thinking, Miles said slowly, we both want to live longer than 10 minutes. I have killed 17 of your kind. And I've killed more of yours. We keeping score, or we trying to survive? The rifle barrel dipped. She was considering it. Her face gave nothing away but her hair. That damn hair pulsed brighter for just a second. Fear response, the briefing had said. Or anger. Maybe both. Miles raised his good hand, palm out. Temporary truce. Until we're out of this hole. Your word is ash. Yeah, well, my rifle's empty and my arm's broken. So my word's all I've got. She watched him. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Then another barrage began. Shells walking across the neutral zone in a steady pattern, methodical, designed to saturate every square meter. The sound built like a physical pressure against his eardrums. They're carpet bombing, Miles said. Next volley hits this crater. We're done. She lowered the rifle. Didn't let go of it. If you betray this moment, I will kill you with my bare hands. Noted. She tried to move and her face went white. Actually white. Like all the blue drained out. Her hand pressed against the wound at her ribs and came away dark with blood. Miles pushed himself up with his good arm, got his feet under him, stumbled across the crater. She tensed, rifle coming up halfway before pain stopped her. Easy, he said. Just looking. He knelt beside her. The armor was advanced, some kind of composite that had flexed under impact instead of shattering, but something had punched through at the seams. Shrapnel, probably. The wound wasn't bleeding as much as he'd thought. She'd been holding pressure on it. Smart. You got field dressings? He asked. Use them. I've got 2. He pulled his med kit with his good hand. This is going to hurt. Everything hurts. He pressed the first one against her ribs. She made a sound like a hiss and a growl combined, her free hand grabbing his wrist hard enough to leave marks. Her pupils contracted to slits. Breathe, Miles said. Just breathe. Do not command me. Wasn't a command. Was advice. He got the dressing sealed, activated the coagulant. Her grip on his wrist relaxed slightly. There. That'll hold for a few hours. She stared at him. Why? Why what? You waste supplies on me. Your enemy. Miles sat back on his heels. The shells were getting closer. He could feel them through the ground. Because we're in the same hole and I need you functional if we're getting out. Pragmatic. Yeah, that's me. Real practical. He looked at his arm. The break was bad. Needed a splint. He started pulling straps off his gear harness. She shifted, reached for something at her hip. He froze, but she pulled out a canteen, held it toward him. Water, she said. You need it more than me. Drink. She thrust it forward. You saved me. I repaid debt. This is balance. Her tone made it clear this wasn't negotiable. Miles took the canteen, drank. The water tasted mineral-rich, slightly alkaline, probably from her homeworld. He handed it back. Thanks. She took a small sip, then secured it. Her eyes never left him. What is your designation? Miles, Sergeant Miles Knox. I am Ilara of the Wind Clan. The Sniper Clan. Yes. No shame in it, just fact. Another shell hit close enough to shower them with debris. Miles ducked instinctively. When he looked up, Ilara had shifted position, rifle up and scanning the crater rim. Movement, she said quietly. Miles followed her gaze. Nothing. Just smoke and dark sky. You sure? I am sure. Then he heard it. Footsteps, multiple sets, crunching over rubble and twisted metal. Patrols, Miles breathed, looking for survivors. Which side? Does it matter? We're both enemies. Ilara's hair brightened, strands beginning to actually glow. Miles had never seen it this intense. In the briefing footage, it had looked like a parlor trick. In person, it was unsettling, beautiful and alien and wrong. She caught him staring. It betrays me. Your hair? It shows fear, anger, desire. She said the last word with particular distaste. Things that should stay hidden. Can't control it? No. The footsteps were getting closer. Miles grabbed a chunk of rock, hefted it, about the weight of a grenade. Better than nothing. Ilara glanced at him, at his makeshift weapon. Something that might have been respect flickered across her face. If they find us, she said, I will fight. Same. And when I die, you are released from any debt. Miles frowned. What debt? She didn't answer. The footsteps paused somewhere above them. Voices speaking in a language Miles didn't recognize. Not her people's tongue, something else. Third party. Scavengers, maybe. Or one of the smaller factions trying to stake a claim in the neutral zone. Ilara's breathing had changed. Shallow, controlled. Combat breathing. Her fingers moved on the rifle, checking the magazine by feel. Miles counted at least 4 voices. Maybe 5. Too many. The voices moved on. Boots scraped over metal, heading east across the crater field. Neither of them moved for a full minute. Finally, Ilara exhaled. They search in pattern. They will return. Then we move before they do. You cannot walk. Your arm, I can walk fine. It's my arm that's broken, not my legs. She studied him. You make jokes when you should show fear. Jokes keep me sane. They make you seem insane. Miles almost smiled. Almost. Yeah, I've heard that before. The sky was darkening. Local sunset, or just more smoke. Hard to tell. This planet had a 28-hour rotation, and the sun was a dim red thing that barely qualified as a star. Everything here felt like twilight. Ilara tried to stand, got halfway up before her legs failed. Miles caught her with his good arm, took her weight. She was lighter than he expected, but denser, like her bones were made of something heavier than human calcium. Slowly, he said, do not give orders. Stop being stubborn. She pulled away, steadied herself against the crater wall. Her face was composed, but her hair writhed and pulsed. She noticed him watching again and turned away sharply. We need to move, Miles said. Can you climb? She looked at the crater wall. 8 feet of loose rock-infused metal. Difficult, even uninjured. I climb, she said. You follow. Sure. I'll just haul myself up one-handed. Should be fun. She actually looked uncertain for a moment, then reached down, grabbed his harness with surprising strength, and started pulling him up alongside her. They climbed in silence. Every few feet, Alara would pause, breathing hard, hand pressed against her ribs. Miles did what he could with one arm, mostly trying not to drag her down. When they reached the rim, she collapsed on her stomach, gasping. Miles rolled onto his back beside her. His arm was screaming. Stars swam in his vision. Real stars, not from pain, though there was plenty of that too. The sky here was crowded with them, thick clusters and distant nebulae, visible even through the haze. "We rest," Alara said. "No, we move. I need..." A sound cut her off. Electronic. A targeting lock. The whine of a laser designator. Miles jerked his head around. There, on a ridge 200 meters away. Figures, 4 of them. Armor gleaming dull red in the fading light. Alara went rigid. "No. Who are they?" "Purifiers." The word came out like a curse. "Clan enforcers." "Your people?" "Yes and no." She was trying to stand, failing. "Miles." "What?" "When you spoke before, in the crater." Her voice was shaking. You said if we survived, I would kiss you and you would conquer this planet for me." "I was being sarcastic." "You spoke the vow of blood and ash." She grabbed his collar, pulled him close. Her eyes were wide, terrified. "A binding oath. A lifetime bond." "I was joking." "That joke is a crime among my people. The Purifiers, they heard the transmission. Every comm channel in this sector. They know." Miles's stomach dropped. "They know what?" "That I am bound to a human. That I am defiled." Her hair was blazing now. Brilliant blue fire that lit up the crater rim. "They will kill us both." The laser designator's whine intensified. Multiple locks. Artillery preparing to fire. "Move!" Miles grabbed her, hauled her behind a slab of broken concrete. Shells screamed in. The world became noise and fire and flying debris. When it cleared, the ridge where the Purifiers had stood was smoking rubble. "They called artillery on themselves?" Miles coughed through the dust. "No." Alara's face was ashen. "I did." She was holding a communicator, hands shaking. Blood on the screen. "You." "What?" "I called fire on their position. My armor will hold. Yours will not. But they are dead. You must survive." "You're insane." "I am bound by the vow. If you die, I become widow. By our law, that is worse than death." Another barrage began, closer this time. Alara tried to curl into a ball, protecting her wounded side. Miles saw the shells incoming, saw the trajectory, did the math in half a second. They were both going to die. Unless... He threw himself over her, covering her body with his, arms wrapped around her head. His broken arm shrieked in protest, but he didn't let go. "Miles! You are not dying!" The shell hit 10 feet away. The blast picked them up and slammed them down, and Miles felt his armor crack like an eggshell. Something hot and sharp tore through his back, his ribs, his lungs maybe. Everything was white noise and pressure and pain. But he didn't let go. Couldn't let go. Wouldn't. The world went dark around the edges. He felt Alara moving beneath him, heard her screaming his name. But it was far away. Getting farther. He tried to speak. Couldn't. His mouth tasted like blood and burned plastic. Then nothing. Miles came back to sound. Ragged breathing. Not his own. Something dragging across rough ground. He tried to open his eyes. One responded. The other was crusted shut. He was moving. Being moved. Alara had his harness gripped in both hands, pulling him across the crater field. Her face was streaked with blood and dust and something else. Tears. Actual tears. Cutting clean tracks down her blue skin. "Miles!" she was gasping. "Miles, you idiot, you stupid. He tried to speak, made a sound like crushed gravel. She stopped, dropped beside him, her hands on his face. "Do not die. You will not die." "Thanks." The word barely made it out. "Ari, for the motivation." "This is not funny." "Little bit funny." She was checking his wounds. He couldn't feel much anymore. Bad sign, very bad sign. His armor was shredded across the back, hanging in strips. When she tried to move him, he made a sound he'd never made before, and she stopped immediately. "Your injuries?" "Yeah, bad. I can stabilize. No supplies left." "Then I will." She stopped, looked around. They were in the open, exposed, easy targets. Miles followed her gaze, saw structures in the distance, ruins of something, pre-war installation maybe. Hard to tell through his failing vision. There, he managed. She nodded, started dragging him again. Every meter was agony. Every bump and jolt sent new waves of pain through his shattered ribs. He tried not to scream, failed several times. Ilara kept moving, relentless, her own blood leaving a trail behind them. They reached the ruins after what felt like hours, probably minutes. Time was getting slippery. The structure had been a supply depot once, walls still mostly intact, roof collapsed in places but providing cover. Ilara pulled him inside, propped him against a wall. She collapsed beside him, chest heaving. They sat in silence. Outside, night had fallen completely. The only light came from Ilara's hair, still burning bright, turning the ruined depot into a cave of blue shadows. Why did you do it? Her voice was barely a whisper. Do what? Shield me. You should have let me take the blast. My armor is stronger. Miles coughed. Blood came up. Didn't think. Just moved. You are dying because you did not think. Probably. This is not acceptable. Yeah, well, not much I can do about it now. She turned to look at him. Her eyes reflected the blue fire of her hair, made her look even more alien. For one kiss, she said slowly, you said you would take the fire of all the stars. Did I say that? In the crater, before you lost consciousness. Must have been the blood loss talking. You said it. Miles managed something between a smile and a grimace. Then I guess I meant it. Her hand moved to his cheek, hesitated there. Her skin was cool against his fever-hot face. Your people and mine have been at war for 7 years, she said. Yeah. Thousands dead on both sides. Yeah. And yet you would die for me. A stranger. An enemy. Guess I'm not very good at following orders. She laughed. It was a broken sound, half sob. No, you are not. Her thumb traced along his jawline. Gentle, careful, like he might break. Ilara, the vow you spoke, it is real. Binding. Cannot be undone. I didn't know. I know, but it does not matter. The words were spoken, witnessed by both of us. By the laws of my people, we are bound. Your people want to kill you for it. Yes. Seems like a bad deal. The worst. But she was smiling now, small and sad. And yet when I thought you would die, I felt... She stopped. Her hair blazed brighter. I felt something I should not feel. Miles's vision was starting to blur, edges getting soft. Ilara, I don't think... Hush. She leaned closer. I am going to break every law of my clan, every rule I was raised with. Because you are a fool and I am a fool and we are both going to die here anyway. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. Good. Remember it. She kissed him. It was soft and fierce and desperate all at once. Her lips were cooler than human lips, smoother, and she tasted like the mineral water from her canteen. Her hair fell around them like a curtain of living light, blocking out the ruins and the war and everything else. When she pulled back, her face was wet with tears. Now you must keep your vow, she whispered. Which part? All of it. She settled beside him, her head on his shoulder. Conquer this planet, end this war. Make all of this suffering mean something. That's a tall order for a guy who can't feel his legs. Then do not die. Live. Heal. Fight. And what about you? I will be here. Beside you. Always. Her hand found his, laced their fingers together. Miles tried to stay conscious, tried to hold on to the moment, but the darkness was closing in, warm and soft and inevitable. The last thing he saw was her hair, burning bright in the ruins, a blue flame that refused to go out. The last thing he felt was her hand in his, gripped strong and sure. And the last thing he thought, before the black took him completely, was that maybe, just maybe, there were worse ways to die than this. But dying wasn't what happened. Miles woke to pain, sharp, focused pain that meant his nerves were still working. He tried to move and his body informed him, in no uncertain terms, that movement was not currently on the menu. He was lying on something soft, no, not soft, padded, a stretcher maybe, voices nearby, speaking in that alien language, the one Ilara had used. Her voice among them, sharp and commanding. He managed to crack his eyes open. Bright light, medical light, harsh and clinical. A face appeared above him. Not Ilara, someone else. Darker blue skin, older, with silver threads in her hair that didn't glow. She said something he didn't understand. Then Ilara was there, pushing past the older woman. Her face was battered, one eye swollen half shut, but alive. Very much alive. Miles, her hand on his forehead. You woke up. Finally. Where? His voice was gravel. Medical facility. Neutral territory. Negotiated under truce flag. She glanced at the older woman, said something quick and harsh. The woman responded equally harsh, gestured at Miles like he was a problematic piece of furniture. She wants me to leave, Ilara said. She says I am disgracing myself by staying. Charming. She is my aunt, the clan's senior medic. Still charming. The aunt said something else, longer this time, and Ilara's hair began to glow. She snapped back, voice rising, and for a moment Miles thought they might actually fight right there in the medical bay. Then Ilara turned back to him. She says your kind killed her daughter in the 3rd year of the war. She says she should let you die on this table and no one would question it. Miles met the aunt's eyes, saw the hatred there, cold and absolute. I understand, he said, though he knew she couldn't understand him. I told her, Ilara continued, that if you die, I die. By the vow, by law. You shouldn't have. I said exactly what I meant. She took his hand again, squeezed. You are not dying, not today, not because of me. The aunt watched this exchange, expression unreadable. Then she sighed, a very human sound, and turned away, began working on equipment Miles couldn't see. She will treat you, Ilara said, but we are both exiled. The moment you can walk, we must leave clan territory. Where do we go? I do not know. Great plan. You would prefer to stay and be executed? When you put it that way, she almost smiled. Rest now. Heal. I will be here. You keep saying that. I keep meaning it. The aunt returned with something that looked like a medical injector, jammed it into Miles's neck without warning. Fire spread through his veins and he bit back a scream. What was that? Accelerated healing compound, Ilara said. Very illegal for use on humans. Might kill you. Might save you. We will discover which. You people have a terrible bedside manner. Yes, we do. The compound was working. He could feel it, like every cell in his body waking up at once. The pain intensified first, much worse than before, then began to recede. Bones grinding back together. Tissue knitting. Impossibly fast and impossibly agonizing. He must have blacked out because when he opened his eyes again, the light had changed. Dimmer now. Emergency lighting. Ilara was still there, sleeping in a chair beside his stretcher, her hand still holding his. Her aunt stood nearby, watching them both with an expression that might have been disgust or might have been something else. Sadness maybe, or recognition. She noticed Miles looking at her, tilted her head, spoke in careful, broken human tongue. You save her? Miles blinked. She told you that? I see the wounds. See how you were hit. You covered her body. Yeah. Why? I don't know. The aunt studied him. You spoke vow. You know what this means? That your people will try to kill us both? That you are bound forever. You understand? No breaking, no divorce, no escape. I'm starting to get that, yeah. And you accept this, knowing nothing of our ways? Our laws? Miles looked at Ilara, sleeping with her head tilted at an uncomfortable angle, hair dimmed to a faint glow. I don't accept the laws, but I accept her. The aunt was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded, once, sharp. Perhaps you are not so foolish as you appear. High praise. Do not seek more. You will not receive it. She checked something on his monitor, adjusted a setting. You heal faster than expected. The compound works well in human physiology. Interesting. Interesting enough to write a paper about? Interesting enough that I will not tell the clan council you survived? She looked at him directly. That is the most you will receive from me. I'll take it. She left without another word. Elara stirred, lifted her head, blinked sleep from her eyes. You are awake. Yeah, you should sleep more. So should you. I will. Soon. She stretched, winced at her own injuries. My aunt spoke to you. Yeah, in human. She was married to a human man once, before the war. He died in the first strikes. I'm sorry. She says she is not. Says grief made her stronger. Elara paused. I think she lies to herself. People do that. Yes, they do. She looked at their joined hands. We should discuss what comes next. Figured we'd make it up as we go. That is not a strategy. It's worked so far. We nearly died several times. But we didn't. She shook her head, but she was smiling. You are impossible. I try. The facility shuddered. Distant sound of weapons fire. Elara was on her feet instantly, hand going to her hip where her rifle should have been. They found us. Who? Does it matter? She grabbed supplies from a nearby cabinet, started shoving them into a pack. We must go, now. Miles tried to sit up, made it halfway before his ribs informed him that was optimistic. I can't. You will. She pulled him up, got his arm over her shoulders. You will because the alternative is death. The weapons fire was getting closer, voices shouting in multiple languages, human among them. Your people? Elara asked. Maybe. Will they help you? If they know I'm alive? Maybe. If they know I'm with you? Probably not. Then we trust no one. They stumbled through the medical facility, Elara supporting most of his weight. She moved with a limp now, her own injuries catching up, but she didn't slow down. They reached an exit, emergency door, half open, leading out into darkness. Elara paused at the threshold. I do not know what is out there. Same thing that's in here. People trying to kill us. Comforting. I try. They stepped out into the night. The planet's surface was a maze of ruins and rubble, destroyed buildings from before the war, grown over with native vegetation that glowed faintly in the dark. Bioluminescence, Miles remembered from briefings. The plants here stored light during the day and released it at night. Made navigation easier. Also made hiding impossible. Elara pulled them into cover behind a collapsed wall. We need transport. Any ideas? Several, all terrible. Let's hear them. Option 1. We steal a vehicle from the purifiers currently searching for us. What's option 2? We walk. How far? 300 kilometers. Through hostile territory with no supplies. Option 1 sounds great. She actually laughed. Small and quiet, but real. You are insane. You keep saying that. Because it remains true. The sound of engines approached. Heavy vehicles. Multiple. Moving in search pattern. Elara's hair began to glow brighter. They are close. Can you dim that? I told you, I cannot control it. What triggers it? Fear. Anger. She paused. Other emotions. Which one is it now? She looked at him. The blue light of her hair reflected in her eyes made them look even more alien. All of them. The engine stopped. Doors opening. Boots on rubble. They pressed deeper into cover. Elara's breathing was controlled, but Miles could feel her heart racing where their bodies touched. His own wasn't much better. A figure appeared on top of the wall above them, backlit by searchlights, human silhouette. Knox! The voice was familiar. Lieutenant Drake, Miles's commanding officer. Knox, if you're out here, sound off! Miles opened his mouth. Elara's hand clamped over it. She was staring at him, eyes wide, shaking her head minutely. Knox! Drake called again. We picked up your beacon. We know you're alive. Miles had forgotten about the beacon, built into his armor, broadcasting his vital signs and location continuously. Elara's hand was still over his mouth. They will kill me, she whispered. The moment they see me, they will fire. I won't let them. You cannot stop them. You can barely walk. I'll try. Miles. He pulled her hand away. Trust me. That is asking a great deal. Yeah, I know. He drew breath to call out. Elara grabbed his collar, pulled him close, kissed him hard and desperate and furious. When she released him, her eyes were wet. If you die because of this, I will find a way to bring you back and kill you again myself. Noted. He raised his voice. Drake, down here! Movement above, Drake appeared at the wall's edge, rifle up, searchlight blazing. "Nox! Jesus Christ, we thought—" He stopped. The searchlight had found Alara. "Stand down," Miles shouted. "She's with me." "Nox, get away from it." "She's with me!" Drake didn't lower his weapon. "That's the sniper, the one who killed Reeves." "I know who she is." "Then you know we have standing orders to shoot on sight." "I'm countermanding those orders." "You don't have that authority." "I have the authority to court-martial you for firing on an unarmed medic, providing aid to wounded personnel." That wasn't technically true, but it sounded good. Drake hesitated. "Nox, you're not making sense." "I'm making perfect sense. She saved my life. Multiple times. I owe her a debt. She's the enemy. So was I to her. We both made a choice." Miles tried to stand on his own, failed, grabbed the wall for support. "I'm asking you to respect that choice." Drake stared at him, at Alara, back to him. "Command will never approve this." "Then don't tell them yet. Tell them you found me alone. Delirious, injured." "Nox! Please, Drake. I'm asking as a friend, not as a sergeant." The rifle wavered, lowered slightly. "This is insane." "Yeah, it really is." Drake looked at Alara again. "Can she understand me?" "Yes," Alara said, her accent thick but words clear. "I speak human tongue." "Right. Great." Drake scrubbed his face with his free hand. "This is the worst decision I've ever made." "Probably," Miles agreed. "If she tries anything, she won't." "You can't know that." "I know." Miles met Alara's eyes. "I trust her." Drake muttered something that was definitely profanity, then keyed his comm. "Team 2, I've got Nox. He's alive but in bad shape. Bringing him in." He released the key before anyone could ask questions. "Come on, before I change my mind." Getting out of the ruins was a blur of pain and confusion. Other soldiers appeared, human faces that Miles half recognized. They gave Alara a wide berth, weapons ready, expressions hostile. Someone had brought a medevac transport. They got Miles inside, strapped to a stretcher. Alara tried to follow. A corporal blocked her path. "Not the alien," he said. "She comes with me," Miles managed. "Not a chance." "Then I'm not going." "Nox, you're barely conscious." "She comes with me." Drake pushed past the corporal. "Let her on. That's an order." "Sir, regulations?" "I will deal with regulations." "Move." The corporal moved. Alara climbed into the transport, stayed as far from the other soldiers as the cramped space allowed. Her hair was blazing now, bright enough to read by. The transport lurched into motion. Miles's vision swam. Someone was talking to him, a medic maybe, but the words were garbled. He felt Alara's hand find his again. Squeeze once. He squeezed back. Then the darkness took him again, warm and soft and inevitable. He woke to white light and the smell of disinfectant. Real medical bay this time. Human technology. Monitors beeping steadily. His arm was in a cast, ribs wrapped tight. Drake sat in a chair nearby, reading something on a tablet. He looked up when Miles stirred. "Welcome back." "How long?" "3 days, you've been in and out." Drake set the tablet aside. "The docs say you're lucky to be alive." "Where's Alara?" "Secured in a holding cell. Command's orders, not mine." Miles tried to sit up. Pain lanced through his ribs. "You said you'd—" "I said I'd get you both to safety. I did. What happens next isn't up to me." Drake leaned forward. "Nox, you need to tell me what happened out there. The truth." Miles told him. Not everything. Some parts were too personal, but enough. The crater, the purifiers, the vow. Drake listened without interrupting. When Miles finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You married an alien sniper," he said finally. "Didn't marry her. Spoke some words I didn't understand. That apparently count as marriage in her culture." "Yeah." "Nox, do you understand how insane this sounds?" "I was there. I lived it. So yeah, I understand." Drake stood, paced the small room. "Command wants to interrogate her. Standard protocol for captured enemy combatants." "She's not a combatant. She's a refugee. She's killed 17 of our people, and I've killed more of hers. We keeping score, or we trying to end this war?" "That's not your decision to make." "Then whose decision is it?" Miles pushed himself up despite the pain, met Drake's eyes. "How many more years? How many more dead?" When does someone decide this has gone on long enough? Nox, I'm serious. This planet is worthless. The resources here don't justify the cost. We're fighting because we've been fighting so long we forgot how to stop. It's true and you know it. Miles coughed, tasted blood. Ilar and I found a way out. Maybe that means something. Drake was quiet. Even if I believe that, Command won't. They'll see her as a propaganda victory at best, a security threat at worst. Then we don't give them the choice. What are you suggesting? Get me to her cell, 5 minutes. That's all I need. Absolutely not. Drake, you can barely walk. You're suggesting what, breaking her out? Going AWOL? I'm suggesting we find a third option. There is no third option. The door opened. A woman in officer's insignia stepped through. Major Vance. Miles recognized her from briefings. Intelligence Division. Gentlemen, she said coolly, how's our recovering hero? Ma'am, Drake snapped to attention. Miles stayed in bed. I'm not a hero. Modest, I like that. Vance approached the bed, studied him with calculating eyes. You've caused quite a stir, Sergeant Knox. Surviving 5 days behind enemy lines, evading multiple hostiles, returning with actionable intelligence about enemy clan structures. I didn't return with intelligence. No? You spent significant time with a Wind Clan operative, learned about their internal politics, their enforcement mechanisms, their cultural practices? She smiled. That's extremely valuable intelligence. Miles felt his stomach drop. I'm not betraying her trust. I'm not asking you to. I'm simply stating facts. Vance pulled up a chair, sat. Let me be direct, Sergeant. Your alien friend is in a very precarious position. Multiple factions want her dead. Her own people for speaking the vow with a human, ours for her past actions. The purifiers for both. I'm aware. Are you aware that she's requested to speak with you? Multiple times, quite insistently. Miles looked at Drake. Drake nodded minutely. I want to see her, Miles said. Of course you do. Vance stood. I can arrange that, but I need something from you first. What? A full debriefing, everything that happened, everything she told you, every detail. No. Sergeant, no, I'm not selling her out to save myself. Vance studied him. Even if refusing means she stays in that cell indefinitely, even then, you realize you're sacrificing your career for an enemy combatant. She's not my enemy. The military would disagree. The military can court-martial me. I don't care. Vance was quiet for several heartbeats. Then unexpectedly, she smiled. Good answer. Ma'am, I needed to know where your loyalties lie, Sergeant. Now I do. She turned to Drake. Lieutenant, escort Sergeant Knox to holding cell 7. Give them privacy. 30 minutes. Drake blinked. Ma'am, that's highly irregular. I'm aware. Do it anyway. She left without another word. Drake stared at the closed door. What just happened? I have no idea. Vance doesn't do favors, ever. Then maybe she's not doing one. Miles swung his legs off the bed, gritted his teeth against the pain. Help me up. Knox, you're in no condition. 30 minutes. Clock's ticking. The walk to the holding cells took 10 of those minutes. Miles refused a wheelchair, leaning on Drake instead. Every step hurt, but he didn't slow down. The cells were in the facility's lower level, repurposed storage rooms with mag-locked doors. A guard stood outside cell 7. Drake dismissed him with a gesture. 30 minutes, Drake said. Then I'm pulling you out whether you're done or not. Understood. The door slid open. Ilara was sitting on the floor back against the wall. She looked up when Miles entered, and her entire face transformed. Relief, joy, fear, all of it visible in the sudden blazing of her hair. She was on her feet and across the cell in 3 steps. Grabbed him, checked him over, hands moving quickly across his cast, his ribs, his face. You are alive, she breathed. Yeah. You are healing. Yeah. You are a fool. That too. She pulled him into a fierce embrace, careful of his injuries but desperate. He wrapped his good arm around her, felt her shaking. I thought they would kill you, she whispered against his shoulder. I thought the healing compound would fail. I thought, I'm here, I'm okay. You are not okay. You are barely standing. Then let me sit down before I fall down. They sank to the floor together, backs against the wall, shoulder to shoulder. Ilara kept her hand in his, gripped tight. They have questioned me, she said after a moment. Asked about my clan, our numbers, our positions. What did you tell them? Nothing. I am bound by the vow to you, not to them. They could make things difficult for you. They could try. She looked at him. What did you tell them? Same thing. Nothing. You protected me. We protect each other. That's the deal. She leaned her head against his shoulder. I do not know what happens next. Neither do I. They will not let us leave together. Probably not. They will separate us. Use me for intelligence. Execute me when I'm no longer useful. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. Miles almost laughed. You're getting better at the dark humor. I am learning from an expert. They sat in silence. The cell was small, bare, sterile. Nothing like the ruins where they'd sheltered or the medical facility where her aunt had worked. No character, no life. Miles, Ilara said quietly. The vow. You should know what it means. Truly. I know enough. No. You know the surface, not the depth. She turned to face him. Among my people, the vow is not just a promise. It is a biological bond. Our physiology, when we speak the words, mean them, our bodies change. Change how? We become attuned to each other. She touched his chest over his heart. I can feel your heartbeat, even now, even through walls. I know when you are in pain, when you are afraid, when you are angry. You can sense my emotions? Yes. And you will begin to sense mine, in time, as the bond strengthens. Miles processed that. That's incredibly invasive. Yes, that is why the vow is sacred, why it is never spoken lightly. But I spoke it by accident, and I accepted it by necessity, and now we are bound by choice. She pulled back slightly, met his eyes. I could have rejected the vow. In the crater, when you first spoke it, I could have told you it meant nothing. Why didn't you? Because even then, bleeding and dying and hating you for being human, she touched his face. I felt something I should not feel for an enemy. What did you feel? Hope. The word came out soft, broken. I felt hope for the first time in 7 years of war, and I was terrified. Miles covered her hand with his. I'm still terrified. Good. That means you are not an idiot. Thought you said I was a fool. You are both. He smiled despite everything, despite the cell and the guards and the impossible situation. What do we do now? We survive, as we have been. And after that, we make it to tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Not much of a plan. It is the only plan we have. The door opened. Drake stepped through, expression apologetic. Time's up, Knox. Already. 30 minutes goes fast. Miles tried to stand. Ilara helped him up, supported him when his legs wanted to give out. I will see you again, she said. Not a question, a statement. Yeah, you will. Promise me. I promise. She kissed him. Quick, fierce, desperate. Then released him and stepped back, chin raised, defiant even in captivity. Miles let Drake guide him out. Looked back once before the door closed. Ilara was still standing there, hair blazing, lighting up the cell like a dying star. The walk back was longer. Miles's strength was fading fast. She's gonna be okay, right? He asked. Drake didn't answer immediately. I don't know, Knox. That's not reassuring. You want reassurance? You're talking to the wrong person. They reached the medical bay. The medics swarmed Miles immediately, checking vitals, scolding him for walking around. He ignored them. Drake, promise me you'll keep her safe. I'm a lieutenant. I don't have that kind of authority. But you have influence. Please. Drake looked at him for a long moment. I'll do what I can. That's all I can promise. It'll have to be enough. They got him back into bed, gave him something for the pain. He fought the sedation, tried to stay conscious, but it was a losing battle. As he drifted off, he felt it, faint but real. A warmth in his chest that wasn't his own. Ilara's heartbeat, steady, strong, alive. He focused on that rhythm as the drugs pulled him under. When he woke again, The light had changed. Darker. Night cycle, maybe. Or just dimmed for recovery. Major Vance sat in the chair beside his bed. Sergeant Knox, good, you're awake. We need to talk. Miles tried to sit up. His body protested. About what? About ending a war. That got his attention. I'm listening. Your situation with the Wind Clan operative has created an unexpected opportunity. Vance leaned forward. The vow you spoke, it's not just marriage in their culture. It's a peace bond, historically used to end clan conflicts. I didn't know that. Neither did we until we consulted with our xenoanthropology team. But it makes sense. Two enemies bound by ritual, creating a bridge between factions. You want to use us as propaganda. I want to use you as leverage. Vance pulled out a tablet, showed him footage. Ilara's clan, elders in formal robes, arguing. This was transmitted 2 hours ago. Your vow has caused significant disruption in Wind Clan politics. Good or bad disruption? Depends on your perspective. Some factions want Ilara executed for dishonor. Others see the vow as legitimate and binding. They're on the verge of civil conflict. So our relationship is making things worse, or it's creating the chaos necessary for change. Vance set the tablet aside. Wars don't end with treaties, Sergeant. They end when enough people are tired of fighting. Your bond with Ilara, it's proof that enemies can become something else. You want us to be symbols. I want you to be yourselves, publicly. Vance stood. Tomorrow we're arranging a joint press conference. You and Ilara, telling your story. She'll never agree to that. She already has. Miles stared. What? I spoke with her an hour ago. Explained the situation. She understands the strategic value. Vance moved toward the door. Get some rest, Sergeant. Tomorrow is going to be very long. She left. Miles lay in the dark, processing. Then he felt it again, that warmth in his chest. Ilara's heartbeat, racing, afraid. He concentrated, tried to send something back. Calm, reassurance, safety. The rhythm slowed slightly. He didn't know if she'd actually felt it. Didn't know if this bond worked both ways yet. But he hoped. The press conference was a nightmare. They set it up in the facility's main briefing room. Cameras everywhere. Representatives from both human and alien media outlets. Armed guards at every exit. Miles stood at a podium, arms still in a cast, wearing a dress uniform that didn't quite fit. Ilara stood beside him, wearing clothes someone had found that weren't prison scrubs. Her hair was dimmed to almost nothing, controlled somehow, maybe with medication. Vance made the introductions, explained the situation in sanitized terms, made it sound almost reasonable. Then the questions started. They came like artillery fire, accusations, mockery, cheap provocations. Miles deflected most, answered what mattered. Ilara remained composed beside him, but her hair was beginning to glow, stress breaking through whatever medication they'd given her. Sergeant Knox, do you expect the public to believe you fell in love with an enemy combatant in the middle of a war zone? Miles gripped the podium. I don't expect you to believe anything. I'm just telling you what happened. Ms. Ilara, you've killed multiple human soldiers. Do you regret those actions? Ilara's voice was calm, accented but clear. I regret the necessity. I regret the war that created such necessity. I do not regret defending my people. That's not an apology. No, it is honesty. Then came the question Miles had been dreading. Sergeant, if you had to choose between your duty to humanity and your bond with Ilara, which would you choose? Silence fell across the room. Miles looked at Ilara. She looked back. In her eyes, he saw the same question reflected, the same fear of what his answer might be. I choose both, he said finally, because ending this war serves humanity, and protecting Ilara serves that goal. That's evasive. That's honest. Miles straightened despite the pain in his ribs. You want me to say I'd sacrifice her for the mission? I won't. You want me to say I'd betray my people for love? I won't do that either. What I will say is this. The person standing beside me risked everything to keep me alive, called artillery on her own people to save a human soldier, and I did the same for her. Maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't. But it's the truth. The room erupted, questions shouting over each other, cameras flashing. Vance stepped up, ended the conference. Guards escorted Miles and Alara out through a side door. In the corridor, Alara stumbled. Miles caught her with his good arm. "You did well," he said. "I feel sick." "Yeah, me too." They leaned against the wall together, guards hovering nervously nearby. Alara's hair was blazing now, uncontrolled, painting the corridor in blue light. "I hate this," she whispered. "Being displayed, being used. I know. They will never let us go. We are too valuable as symbols." "Then we stop being valuable." She looked at him. "How?" "I'm working on it." "Work faster." Despite everything, he smiled. "Yes, ma'am." Days blurred together. Medical evaluations, protocols, cameras, identical questions. Everyone wanted to probe their wound, but no one offered a cure. Miles and Alara were kept in the same facility but separate quarters, seeing each other only under supervision, always with cameras present. Miles felt her constantly now. The bond was strengthening. He knew when she was sleeping, when she was awake, when she was angry or scared or sad. On the fourth day, Drake came to his quarters looking grim. "What's wrong?" "Wind Clan has made contact. They're requesting negotiations." "That's good, right?" "Depends. They're demanding Alara's return, as a prisoner, for trial under their law." Miles was on his feet immediately. "Absolutely not. Nox, they'll execute her. You know they will. The alternative is continued war." "Then we continue the war." Drake grabbed his shoulders. "Listen to me. Alara knows. Vance told her an hour ago. And she's agreed to go." Miles felt the world tilt. "What?" "She says if her death ends the conflict, it's worth it." "That's insane." "That's duty." Drake released him. "She asked to see you. Privately. Vance approved." They brought him to a conference room. Alara was waiting, standing by the window, looking out at the ruined cityscape beyond. She turned when he entered. Her hair was dim, controlled. Her face was calm. "Miles, you can't do this." "I can. I must." "No. We'll find another way." "There is no other way." She approached him, took his hands. "My people will never accept this bond. Not truly. But my death, a willing sacrifice for peace that they can understand, that they can honor. I don't want your sacrifice. I want you alive." "I know," she touched his face. "I feel it every moment. Your fear for me, your anger at this situation. Then you know I can't let this happen." "You cannot stop it. Watch me." "Miles." "No. Listen." He pulled her close. "The bond goes both ways now, right? You feel what I feel?" "Yes." "Then you know I'm not bluffing. You go to your people for trial. I'm coming with you. They will kill you. Then we die together. The vow says if one dies, the other becomes widow, right? What if we're both already dead? What's the law then?" She stared at him. That is a strange interpretation. But is it wrong?" "I do not know. No one has ever..." She trailed off, thinking, it might work, as a legal argument. Might. So we try it. And if we fail, then at least we're together. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed, actually laughed, bright and surprised. "You are absolutely insane. You keep saying that like it's a bad thing. It is a terrible thing. It is also..." She kissed him. "It is also why I agreed to the vow, even when I thought I hated you. You thought you hated me? For approximately 10 minutes. Then you gave me your medical supplies and I realized I had made a serious error. Only took you 10 minutes? I am very efficient at changing my mind." They held each other, foreheads pressed together, breathing in sync. Outside, the city burned with the lights of a war that refused to end. "We do this together," Miles said. "Together," Alara agreed. "No more sacrifices. No more. And if they try to separate us, then we fight." "Good." The door opened. Vance stepped through, expression unreadable. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Miles didn't let go of Alara. "What do you want?" "To inform you that Wind Clan has agreed to a revision. They'll accept a joint tribunal. Both of you present, both making your case." "What changed?" "You did." Vance gestured to the window. Beyond it, screens displayed footage from the press conference. Alien and human both. Your interview has been viewed 3 billion times across both sides. Public sentiment is shifting, not everywhere, not even most places. But enough. Enough for what? Enough that neither side can afford to execute you without massive political cost. Vance approached them. You've become exactly what I hoped you would. Proof that this war can end. We're not symbols, Alara said quietly. You are now, whether you like it or not. Vance handed Miles a tablet. The tribunal is in 72 hours, on neutral ground. I suggest you prepare. She left them alone. Miles looked at the tablet. Legal documents in multiple languages. Requirements. Procedures. Escape clauses. 72 hours, he said, to prepare a defense for our lives. No pressure. Alara took the tablet, started reading. Her expression grew more troubled with each page. This is complex. Very complex. Can we win? I do not know. She set the tablet down. Miles, if we fail, we won't. But if we do, then we've already decided, together. No matter what. She nodded slowly. Together. The next 3 days blurred into exhaustion and pressure. Lawyers from both sides drilled them on laws, precedents, loopholes. Alara absorbed it all with frightening intensity. Miles kept up as best he could. The vow had been used 7 times in history to end clan conflicts. 4 successes, 3 executions. No vow had ever crossed species. The law was unclear whether that made it sacred or void. Bad odds either way. On the evening before the tribunal, they were allowed hours together. Actually alone. They didn't talk much. Just sat in Miles's quarters, hands intertwined, feeling each other's heartbeats through the bond. I am afraid, Alara said finally. Me too. But I do not regret this. Any of it. Neither do I. Even if tomorrow we die, even then. She leaned against him. Tell me something true. Something you have never told anyone. Miles thought about it. Before the war, I wanted to be a teacher. History. Thought maybe I could help people learn from past mistakes. Instead, you became a soldier. Yeah, didn't work out how I planned. What would you teach, if you could? How to recognize when a conflict has gone on too long, when to stop fighting and start talking. An important lesson. Yeah, shame no one ever learns it. We are learning it now. Perhaps we can teach others. If we survive. When we survive, she corrected. I refuse to consider the alternative. Miles smiled. When did you become the optimist? When you became the realist. We balance each other. Is that how the bond works? I think so. You feel what I feel what you feel. Together we are more complete. I like that. So do I. Outside, the city lights shifted through night cycle. Somewhere, people prepared to judge whether 2 enemies could become something else. Alara? Yes? Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you. For what? For kissing me in that crater. For accepting the vow. For giving me something to fight for besides orders. She turned to look at him. Her hair had begun to glow again, soft blue light filling the room. You gave me the same. When I thought this war would never end, when I thought dying was the only escape, you showed me another path. Some path, straight to a tribunal. Better than dying alone in a crater. Fair point. She was quiet for a moment, then softly. I love you. The words hung in the air. Simple. Impossible. True. I love you too, Miles said, and he felt it through the bond. Her joy, her relief, her absolute certainty that this was right. He felt his own emotions reflected back, amplified, shared, complete. She kissed him, slow and gentle and thorough. And for those hours, they forgot about tribunals and wars and everything waiting in the morning. They just existed, together. The tribunal was held in a massive chamber carved from the planet's bedrock, neutral territory claimed by neither side. The walls were natural stone, dark and cold, lit by harsh artificial lights. Judges sat in a semicircle. 3 human, 3 from Alara's species, all elderly, all severe, representing both military and civilian authority. Miles and Alara stood in the center, isolated, exposed. The charges were read in both languages: violations of protocol, fraternization with the enemy, unauthorized use of sacred ritual. The list went on. Then came their defense. Ilara spoke first, in her native tongue. Miles couldn't understand the words, but he felt her conviction through the bond, felt her passion and fear and desperate hope. When she finished, one of the alien judges spoke. The translator rendered it. You claim the vow was spoken in good faith, but this human did not understand its meaning. How can ignorant words carry sacred weight? Ilara's response was immediate, fierce. The translator struggled to keep up. The vow is measured not by knowledge but by intent. He offered his life for mine. I accepted that offer. Intent was clear on both sides. Intent matters less than law. Then your law is incomplete. Silence fell. That was dangerous, Miles knew, challenging the law directly. But Ilara continued. Our laws were written for conflicts between clans, between those who share our blood. They say nothing of bonds between species. So we must decide, do we follow the letter of incomplete law or the spirit of what the vow represents? Peace between enemies. The judges conferred. Low voices, inaudible. Then the human judges spoke. A general, gray-haired and grim. Sergeant Knox, you swore an oath to serve humanity, to follow orders, to put mission before personal concerns. How do you reconcile that oath with your bond to an enemy combatant? Miles took a breath. He'd practiced this answer, but now standing here, it felt hollow. So he spoke from the heart instead. I don't reconcile it, sir. I can't. Because you're right. There's a conflict there. But I think that conflict exists because we've defined the terms wrong. Explain. Ilara isn't my enemy anymore. Maybe she was in that crater. But the moment we chose to help each other instead of kill each other, something changed. She became my ally, my partner, he hesitated, my family. Sentimental, another judge said. Yes, sir, it is. But sentiment is what separates us from the machines we use to kill each other. And if we lose that, if we can't recognize when an enemy becomes something else, then we've already lost this war, even if we win every battle. The judges conferred again. Longer this time. Miles felt Ilara's hand find his, squeezed tight. Her heartbeat was racing, visible through the bond. He squeezed back. Finally, the lead judge, an alien female with white hair that glowed faintly, spoke. We have reviewed the law. We have heard the arguments. We have considered precedent. She paused. And we find insufficient grounds for judgment. Miles's heart lurched. What does that mean? It means the law is unclear. Your bond exists in a space between our legal frameworks, neither fully valid nor fully invalid. So what happens to us? That is the question. The judge looked at her colleagues. They nodded. We propose a solution, unprecedented but necessary. What solution? You will serve as mediators between our peoples, using your bond as a bridge, facilitating communication, negotiating ceasefires, working toward permanent peace. Miles and Ilara exchanged glances. And if we refuse? Ilara asked. Then we must rule on the validity of your vow. And given the division among the judges, that ruling will likely result in unsatisfactory outcomes for all parties, meaning execution. Miles understood perfectly. That's not really a choice, he said. No, the judge agreed. It is not. But it is a path forward. For you, for us, for everyone exhausted by this war. More conferring. Miles felt the weight of 1,000 eyes on them. This tribunal was being broadcast, he knew, watched by billions. Whatever they decided here would echo far beyond this chamber. We accept, Ilara said. Miles looked at her, felt her determination through the bond, her hope. Yeah, he said, we accept. The chamber erupted, voices shouting in multiple languages, some in protest, some in celebration. The judges called for order, barely maintaining control. Miles pulled Ilara close as the chaos swirled around them. We just agreed to spend the rest of our lives trying to end a war, he said. Yes. That's insane. Yes. But we're doing it anyway. Yes. She looked up at him. Her hair was blazing now, brilliant blue, visible even in the harsh lights. Together. Always together. They kissed right there in the tribunal chamber, with judges and cameras and 1,000 witnesses. And somewhere in that moment, between the fear and the hope, and the impossible task ahead, Miles felt something shift. The bond maybe, settling into place, becoming permanent. Or maybe just the recognition that he'd found someone worth fighting for, worth living for, worth everything. The tribunal ended. Guards escorted them out through a side entrance. Outside, crowds had gathered, humans and aliens both, some cheering, some jeering, most just watching. Vance met them at the transport. "Congratulations, you're now the most famous couple in the galaxy." "Lucky us," Miles said. "Fame is a tool. Use it wisely." She gestured to the transport. "There's a facility prepared, neutral ground. You'll begin mediation work tomorrow." "Tomorrow? War doesn't wait, Sergeant. Neither does peace." Vance's expression softened slightly. "But you'll have tonight, both of you, alone. Actually, alone this time." They climbed into the transport. It lifted off, carrying them away from the crowds and cameras and chaos. The facility was small, a prefab habitat in the middle of nowhere. But it had walls and a door that locked, and actual privacy. Inside, Miles and Alara stood in the main room, just looking at each other. "We did it," Alara said finally. "Yeah. We survived. Yeah. And now we must save the world. One thing at a time." She laughed, actual genuine laughter. "Where do we start?" "I don't know. Never saved a world before. Neither have I. Guess we'll figure it out as we go. Like everything else we have done." "Exactly." They moved together, not rushed, not desperate, just natural. Like they'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. Miles traced the line of her jaw, the curve of her neck, the places where blue skin faded to darker blue at the shoulders. Ilara's hands mapped his scars, the burns from the blast, the healing fractures, the evidence of everything they'd survived. "You are marked by this war," she said quietly. "So are you." "Yes, we carry it with us. Think we'll ever be free of it?" "I do not know, but I know we will carry it together." "That's enough, is it?" "For now." They found the bedroom, collapsed on the bed, fully clothed, exhausted beyond measure. Ilara curled against his side, head on his chest, hair providing soft blue light. "Miles?" "Yeah?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For being foolish enough to speak a vow you did not understand. Thank you for being foolish enough to accept it. We are both fools. The best kind." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "I love you." The words hung in the air. Simple, impossible, true. "I love you too," Miles said, and he felt it through the bond. Her joy, her relief, her absolute certainty that this was right. He felt his own emotions reflected back, amplified, shared, complete. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other, the bond humming between them like a living thing. And outside, the war continued. But inside, for this one night, there was peace. The next morning came too soon. Vance arrived with briefings, the first ceasefire negotiations. Small scale. Local commanders on both sides willing to talk. Miles and Alara sat across from humans and aliens who'd been killing each other for years. Helped them find common ground. Found ways to stop the immediate violence. It was slow, painful, frustrating, but it worked. One ceasefire became two. Two became five. Five became a regional agreement. Months passed. Then a year. The work was relentless. Every day brought new crises. Old hatreds didn't disappear overnight. People on both sides still wanted blood. But slowly, impossibly slowly, things changed. Miles and Alara became fixtures at negotiation tables. Their bond, once scandalous, became a symbol. Proof that enemies could become something else. They made mistakes, failed more often than they succeeded, but they kept trying, and the war began, finally, to wind down. Not everywhere, not completely, but enough. Enough that people started talking about after the war instead of when we win. Enough that children on both sides could imagine futures that didn't include combat. Enough. 2 years after the tribunal, they stood on a hill overlooking the neutral zone. The crater where they'd first met was somewhere below, buried under reconstruction efforts. "Do you remember?" Ilara asked. "Every second. You were bleeding, stubborn, making terrible jokes. And you were terrifying, beautiful, about to shoot me. She smiled. I should have shot you. Probably would have saved us both a lot of trouble. But we would have missed this. She gestured at the valley. Where ruins had been, new structures were rising, mixed architecture, human and alien working together, not everywhere. But here, in this one place, a beginning. Was it worth it? Miles asked. Everything we went through? Ilara was quiet, considering. Her hair glowed softly in the fading light. She'd learned some control over the years, but it still betrayed her when emotions ran high. Ask me again in 10 years, she said finally. Why 10 years? Because that is how long they say it will take. To fully rebuild, to fully heal. You think it'll actually take that long? I think it will take longer, much longer. She turned to face him. But I also think we will be here to see it. Together. Always together. Miles pulled her close, felt her heartbeat through the bond, steady and strong, felt his own matching rhythm. Two hearts, different species, same purpose. Behind them, footsteps approached. Drake, now a captain, with a datapad in hand. Sorry to interrupt, he said, not sounding sorry at all. But we've got another situation. Border dispute in Sector 7. Both sides are asking for you specifically. Miles and Ilara exchanged glances. We should go, Ilara said. Yeah, before someone does something stupid. Too late for that. We already did. She laughed, and her hair blazed bright enough to light up the hillside. They followed Drake down to the transport, hand in hand, ready for whatever came next. Because that was the deal. That was the vow. Not just love. Not just partnership, but the choice every single day to keep trying, to keep fighting, not against each other, but for something better. For a future where a human and an alien could stand in a crater, bleeding and dying, and choose to save each other instead. For a world where that choice mattered. For peace. The transport lifted off, carrying them toward another crisis, another negotiation, another impossible situation. Miles looked at Ilara. She looked back. And in that moment, through the bond, he felt what she felt. Not fear, not doubt, hope. Stubborn, impossible, relentless hope. The kind that survived wars and wounds and every reason to give up. The kind that changed worlds. Ready? He asked. Always, she said. And they flew into the sunset together. Two fools bound by a vow they'd never meant to make, saving a planet one impossible day at a time.